But he has been in Taiwan so many times, and he knows Taiwan so well. And Dr. Anamita, she got his PhD in Taiwan scholarship, and now she is the chairman of Taiwan Alumni Association chairman. And Len Bruce Chi is a Taiwan business community representative. And of course, a lawyer knows law should apply to all, and he knows the best. Let's welcome Rick Grant. Right now, I have the honor to request Ambassador Tian to deliver his remarks.
Thank you, Frank. Honorable Member of Parliament from Rajya Sabha, Honorable Halal, my old and good friend. Dr. Anamika, she knows better than anyone else in India about Taiwan. Of course, the young lawyer, Vikram, is a specialist in international aviation. He's going to publish a book. I wish you can launch the book as quickly as possible. I'm definitely going to buy a couple of them. Very good. And Bruce Chi has been in India for a number of years. He's also very successful businessman here. So, my friends from the press, my colleagues, very good morning to you all. And thank you very much for joining today's press conference on Taiwan's participation in the World Health Assembly. As we know that diseases do not respect the border and health rights are universal. As the Constitution of the World Health Organization states, the enjoyment of the highest attainable standard of health is one of the fundamental rights of every human being without distinction of race, religion, political belief, economic or social conditions. Also, the United Nations General Assembly Resolution 7.1 declares, as we embark on this great collective journey towards 2020 agenda for sustainable development, we pledge that no one will be left behind. Now, all over the world, border and immigration policies are becoming less restrictive. This has increased the possibility of cross-border disease transmission. A concerted global effort is the only way to effectively ensure the health and welfare of the people around the world. Taiwan is located at a strategic node in the Indo-Pacific. It has a particularly high need for disease prevention as people and goods are constantly entering and leaving Taiwan. The Taipei FIR, Flight Information Region, borders 4 other FIRs, such as Fukuoka, Manila, Hong Kong, and Shanghai. It is located off mainland China's eastern seaboard and between Japan and the Philippines. In the year 2017, the Taipei FIR provided services to over 1.66 million controlled flights and to nearly 66 million travelers entering, leaving, and transiting through Taiwan, of whom about 83% or nearly 55 million, were international and cross-strait passengers. In year 2018, Taiwan reports 11 million foreign visitors and provides service to 223,000 transiting flights. Therefore, Taiwan is an indispensable part of global efforts to combat infectious diseases. Once we are the recipient of foreign aid, Taiwan is giving back to the world by providing help where it is needed most. Through its outreach, Taiwan is making indispensable contributions to the global health network. Take the Taiwan International Health Training Center, founded in 2002 by our Ministry of Health and Welfare, as an example. It offers foreign professionals training in clinical medicine, acupuncture, traditional medicine, and healthcare management, with about 1,500 health professionals from 65 countries and territories completing courses by the end of this year. Equally impactful is the Global Medical Instrument Support and Service Program, launched by the Ministry of Health and Welfare in 2005. It has integrated efforts by hospitals across Taiwan to provide usable equipment to developing nations. More than 5,400 items have been shipped to medical institutions in 33 countries and territories through the project. Moreover, in recent years, a major focus of Taiwan's international outreach is deepening cooperations with countries in South and Southeast Asia. Since 2018, the Ministry of Health and Welfare has commissioned 6 human medical centers to extend health care coordinations and to provide instrumental courses for healthcare personnel from India, Indonesia, Malaysia, the Philippines, Thailand, and Vietnam, respectively. In 2018, a total of 336 medical professionals underwent training in Taiwan through the One Country, One Center initiative, which was expanded earlier this year to include Brunei and Myanmar. When the Ebola happens once again in 2018, Taiwan quickly announced a donation of US $1 million to WHO to help in fighting against the disease. This donation was unfortunately forced to be suspended due to the politically driven interference. However, through this, Taiwan has shown an unwavering determination to participate in international medical cooperation. Taiwan has transformed itself from a recipient of foreign aid to the provider of international humanitarian assistance. It has actively helped many countries in need. Taiwan's experience can serve as a reference to many other nations. Bringing Taiwan into the international disease prevention system will benefit many nations and help WHO be more effective in its disease prevention efforts. What Taiwan can help? Firstly, Taiwan has had great success in achieving universal health coverage. Since the implementation of national health insurance in 1995, Taiwan's people have had access to necessary treatment, as have foreign nationals studying, working, or otherwise legally residing in Taiwan. The principle of leaving no one behind has reigned paramount, and the true vaccination, cancer screening, and the preventative care where risk factors are present, Taiwan has improved its primary health care system. And secondly, Taiwan faces a high risk of natural disasters and has a wealth of experience and abilities to responding to such disasters. He has much to offer WHO's health emergencies programs through the provision of emergency medical assistance. Taiwan continues to improve its national disease prevention capabilities in line with the international health regulations. It is the 8th nation to have undergone the Joint External Evaluation, JEE, which has helped improve the global infectious disease prevention network. Thirdly, Taiwan has trained thousands of medical professionals from around the world. It has become an important international training center in such areas as electrical cardioversion technologies, advanced reconstructive surgery, and reconstructive microsurgery, with the conviction that teaching people to fish is more effective than giving them fish. Taiwan hopes to assist more nations with improving their medical capacity and sustainable development, so as to effectively realize United Nations Sustainable Development Goal, the third, of ensuring health, lives, and promoting well-being for all at all ages. Taiwan has been invited to attend the World Health Assembly, which is the decision-making body of the WHO, from year 2009 to year 2016. We firmly believe that facilitating Taiwan's meaningful participation in World Health Assembly will advance the WHO's top priority of achieving universal health coverage. Unfortunately, Taiwan has not been invited to attend this WHA for 3 consecutive years since 2017, obviously out of China's political interference. Such preemptory conduct blatantly ignores the health and well-being of the 23 million people of Taiwan, and will only harden hearts and evoke public resentment. More seriously, it will not only create a gap in disease prevention network, but also sacrifice people's health around the world. The Taiwan Assurance Act of 2019, just unanimously passed by the United States House Representatives on May 7, 2019, stated the sense of Congress that the People's Republic of China's attempts to dictate the terms of Taiwan's participation in international organizations has, in many cases, resulted in Taiwan's exclusion from such organizations, even when statehood is not a requirement. And that such exclusion is detrimental to global health and negatively impacts the safety and the security of citizens globally. We are very much grateful that Japanese Foreign Minister Taro Kono, United States Acting Assistant Secretary of State Patrick Murphy, United Kingdom Minister of State Mark Field, United Kingdom Junior Minister of Health Department Jackie Doyle-Price, Canadian Foreign Minister Chrystia Freeland, and the EU spokesperson publicly expressed their support for Taiwan's meaningful participation in the WHA in various occasions. In addition, leaders of the Taiwan Friendship Group from European Parliament, United Kingdom, France, and Germany, they sent a joint letter to WHO Director General Carlos Adhanom Ghebreyesus, calling for WHO to invite Taiwan to attend the WHO. We also highly appreciate that World Medical Association, the European Medical Association, and the Standing Committee of European Directors also urged the WHO to extend an invitation to Taiwan for attending this year's WHO. We will continue our efforts to ensure the health and the well-being of the 23 million people of Taiwan, as well as the whole human race. Taiwan will not give in to political sabotage and will continue to seek international affirmation of its efforts. This will help ensure the complete early realization of WHO's vision of health as a human right. I firmly believe that virtue is not left to stand alone. He who practices it will have neighbors, the Bukubiori, and a just cause attracts much support. 得道者多助. As a conclusion, I sincerely urge all like-minded countries and people to extend their staunch support to Taiwan's legitimate endeavor. And I also like, again, to thank our friends from the press. For the past couple of days, I also received a lot of press about supporting Taiwan participation in WHA. I take this opportunity to appreciate you once again. Thank you for joining us. Thank you.
Thank you very much for Ambassador's wonderful remarks. Right now, I would like to invite His Excellency Ronald Papa Tila to deliver his remarks.
My friends from the press, I am very happy to participate this morning in this very, very important event where the world is at the junction, whether we're going to continue to deny some members of the world community in active participation on the grave need for a huge participation, or we're going to stop denying some people who are eager and able to help. Personally, as a member of the Parliamentary Committee on Health and Welfare, Family Welfare, I have seen in our country what contribution, the amount of improvement that could be made through the exerted efforts of all the concerned resources in our country and even from outside of the country. I think I see a meaningful political endeavor and commitment that is needed to combat our world, where we now increasingly see, as the world's population increases, the number of diseases and sicknesses also is rapidly increasing beyond the magnitude of our manageable level. This has undoubtedly become the biggest dilemma of the human race today. And parallelly, the human tragedy can be reduced largely by providing more financial and human resources, that is, health professionals, for effective treatment, research, and preventive actions of our disease. Today, as you know very well, some countries have become important in international trade centers in such areas as electrical cardioversion technologies, advanced reconstructive surgery, and reconstructive microsurgery, having the capacity and financial ability to assist more nations with our health issues, so as to effectively realize the UN Sustainable Development Goal of ensuring healthy lives and promoting well-being for all. While the Constitution of the World Health Organization recalls the enjoyment of the highest attainable standard of health is one of the fundamental rights of every human being in this world, without distinction on the basis of race, religion, political belief, economic or social condition. And that the UN General Assembly resolution also suggests that as we embark on this great collective journey towards the 2030 agenda for sustainable development, we pledge that no one will be left behind. And I see a very sad affair where this is not yet getting its fulfillment. And as a member of the Parliamentary Committee on Health and Family Welfare, I'd like to, on my good behalf, to humbly submit that the WHO must assure the human race today that it will leave no stone unturned, just so every possible and available resources of all potential countries are not left behind to create a safer and healthier community of the world. And I believe that it's about time all exert efforts is given through you, the fourth pillar of the estate, be made the world aware that it's about time that we all come together as a community of world health, that we combat this very, very nasty and very hazard of our life be taken away through the exert efforts from the world community. And I think that it's about time that we do justice to let everyone who is willing and able to participate in this endeavor, that they are also included in this. Thank you very much.
Right now, may I invite Dr. Anna Mika to say a few words. Thank you.
I would like to thank Taiwan Economic Cultural Center, especially His Excellency, for inviting me here and address you all and talk about my experience in Taiwan and Taiwanese health system and how I experienced it. Before I start talking about my experience in Taiwan, I would like to build on a fundamental concept, which is human dignity. My work is on human rights education, and if you look at Universal Declaration of Human Rights, I would like you all to go back to further in the past. Immanuel Kant, the German philosopher, in his seminal work on Critique of Pure Reason, he did talk about that there are certain concepts, there are certain categories which are beyond reason. They are there and you have to accept them as it is. And dignity is one of them. So when you begin with dignity, you cannot question it. So from there, Universal Declaration derives its legitimacy, and everyone has a right to have a dignified life. And health is one of the most important factors. If you're not healthy, you can't enjoy life, you can't have a dignified life. So that's very important. And as we all know, UDHR does not recognize whether you are a sovereign country or not. Do you have a status of an independent state or not? So why Taiwan should be denied this basic claim, basic right to participate in World Health Assembly? Now I would like to talk about my experience in Taiwan. I went to Taiwan in 2006 as a PhD scholar. I did my PhD in education, and His Excellency was talking about national health insurance, and every Taiwanese, every foreigner, legitimate foreigner, as he said, has a key to health. And I have somehow, I don't know, why did I keep it? This was my key to the health in Taiwan, and we would like to have a look at it. So when I was doing my PhD, my supervisor asked me to go to an elementary school. Before you work on education, you must know, you must experience the education system. So with grade 1 students, I was learning Chinese, I was learning Mandarin, and there I saw young children as young as 5 or 6 year old, if they catch flu, they know what to do. They will wear a mask. When I look around myself, my house or my family, even my own child, it's very difficult to make her wear a mask. But Taiwanese children are so conscious. It's health education so deeply embedded in culture as well as education system. So they know that I am sick and it's my responsibility and other child's right to have a healthy life. So my virus should not be transmitted to others. So this health education system, consciously or unconsciously, Taiwan has evolved it. And India and this part of the world, particularly Asia, we can really learn from Taiwan. And I was just wondering, in case, hypothetically, if Taiwanese researchers, tomorrow they come up with a solution to cancer, what would be our reaction? Would we say, no, Taiwan is not an independent country, they don't have a sovereign status, and we don't want to be benefited from that remedy or that medicine? So we should be, as a human race, we should be visionary, we should be thinking about future. And in Indian mythology, you have seen that there are small animals. If you have read Panchatantra, a small animal can defeat a big animal or can be useful to a mighty one. So we should not underestimate small countries, and we should not be overwhelmed or bewildered by mighty countries. We should look at the human dignity. If Taiwan can help in that, why not? So I would like to, I sincerely hope that Taiwan gets this opportunity and gets an opportunity to participate in World Health Assembly. All my best wishes are with you, and thank you so very much. Thank you.
Thank you. One I invite lawyer Vikram Pachilanta to say a few words. Thank you.
A very good morning to everyone here. Firstly, before I begin, I want to extend a warm thank you to His Excellency Ambassador Tyne for inviting me here today to speak. Now, to begin with, what is the problem we are facing today? The problem is due to certain political deliberations, Taiwan is not being allowed to participate or contribute in the World Health Assembly. So now, keeping this in mind as the problem, the question that arises is, how can you explore a role that Taiwan can play in the World Health Organization from a legal perspective? 1972 was the year when the World Health Assembly voted to recognize the People's Republic of China instead of Taiwan as the legitimate representative of China. Thereafter, in 2009, Taiwan was invited to participate as an observer in the 62nd session of the World Health Assembly as Chinese Taipei. Now, WHO, if many of you are not aware, is the primary decision-making body of the World Health Organization, and it stands for the World Health Assembly. The WHO, of course, as most of you would know, is the specialized agency for health of the United Nations, and it is the main forum where member states discuss and deliberate on important issues pertaining to health and pertaining to the organization's mandate. So now the next question arises, what is the organization's mandate? The Constitution of the World Health Organization categorically states, and I quote, "The enjoyment of the highest attainable standard of health is one of the fundamental rights of every human being without distinction of race, religion, political belief, economic or social condition. So now, keeping this mandate in mind, we have a problem that political deliberations are not allowing Taiwan to really participate. So what is a possible solution, at least from a legal perspective? Now, the WHO does allow for observer state, non-voting observer status being granted. Yes, as an observer status, you don't have legal standing under the WTO constitution, but that doesn't stop you from definitely expressing your views as far as global health is concerned and participating, even if it has only a persuasive value in terms of how you can contribute to making healthcare affordable to everyone across the world. We were just seeing in the video as how Taiwan has been playing a role in providing not only medical care to people in countries in Papua New Guinea and in the Caribbean, but also training their local doctors over there so that they can provide medical facilities to the local population. Now, coming back to the non-voting observer status, they are formally recognized subtypes of observer status. And the two which would be relevant from the perspective of Taiwan being a non-voting observer at WHO are A, non-member states. Now that again could lead to a political deliberation because you have a lot of countries saying that no, is Taiwan a state, is it not a state, even though Taiwan, that's a different matter of debate which I won't get into. But again, that problem could arise. But then there's again another solution. Another formally recognized, assuming that this does come in the way, although Taiwan can be observed, given an observer status as a non-member state, but assuming that again you have a political deliberation that suddenly starts as to some countries saying no, but it's not a state, so how does it come into the definition of a non-member state? Another formally recognized type of an observer state are invited observers who can participate at the behest and invitation of the Director General of the WHO. So here you can invite Taiwan to observe if the Director General does say so. And now, why is Taiwan's interest in seeking observer status justified? This is because the country's exclusion would probably undermine domestic public health. And this would again be against the spirit of the WHO. I just read out what the constitution of the WHO says, and this would probably be against that. Also, if we see Asia's geographic proclivity to various outbreaks, for example, SARS, therefore, the continued exclusion of Taiwan from WHO activities, whether it is as a member state or as a non-observer, could be considered problematic, especially now that you have increasing transboundary mobility of health determinants and outcomes. So keeping that in mind, I think a WHO participation would essentially be important. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, especially our media reporters' friends, there might be you want to know more, maybe you want the speakers to clarify, or some want to have some more contribution, and we welcome you to raise your question. And when you raise your question, please raise your hand. Thank you.
You are the first one. All right.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you very much for this wonderful presentation. Now, what I want to know is, which is not talked about, and which is again a global menace, are the viral kind of infections like HIV and Hep C, Hep B, and the increasing aggressive ART treatments, and all this. Is Taiwan doing anything on this area? Could you elaborate on this, please?
Well, I'm afraid probably I will not be able to, in this moment, to give you a right answer because it is a very, very technical, very medical questions. But one thing I can assure you, for the past years, Taiwan has already eradicated malaria and polio, respectively. And Taiwan now we are countering chikungunya, the dengue fever, and so on and so forth. So I think your questions definitely is very important. And I'm sure there must have something has been done to that disease. Later on, I have to check, I give you a right answer. Thank you.
Okay.
I think
Good afternoon, Excellency. Could you please let us know that what have been the ties between India and Taiwan as far as health is concerned? And have you contacted Indian authorities for seeking their support for WHO? Thank you.
Deepak, thank you for your question. India is always a very important partner countries in Taiwan, particularly now after we implemented so-called New Southbound policies. In India, you have the Act East policy. I think these are very two important policies. Of course, we also have to understand that India, we and Taiwan, the Republic of China, we kept a very, very substantial relations aside from diplomatic relations, I have to admit. Because Taiwan and India, we only had 2 years, formal diplomatic relations, 1947 to 1949. Unfortunately, right after 1949, Indian government, you switched your diplomatic recognition from ROC to PROC, PROC. Well, that's very, well, unfortunate that it happens. So we have to live to it. But even without the formal relationships, we have kept very strong, substantial, and friendly relationships. I can give you some of the figures. That year 2000, our trade volume between our two sides is less than $1 billion. Now, 2018, we reached about $7.5 billion. In other words, we have increased the 6 or 7-fold in terms of the trade. And most importantly, I think that trade is balanced trade, not unbalanced trade. Like you have with some other countries, the trade is very imbalanced. You are in red for $55 billion, which is too big. It's not healthy. And our trade is balanced, number one. Number two, we consider that the softer power and the smart power is more important than the so-called sharp power or hard power to some extent. So this is why we try to establish connectivities among the people, particularly young and talented generations. This is why we have established 14 Taiwan education centers in India, namely IIT Bombay, IIT Madras, IIT Delhi, JMU University, Amity University, JMI University, so on and so forth. And this kind of activities we're definitely going to continue to establish more connectivities. And thirdly, we have humbly offered some scholarships. We're a small country. Your population is 50 times bigger than us. But we still can offer about, now there are 2,300 some Indian talented students pursuing PhD and bachelor degrees in Taiwan, as well as the language training program. My daughter is one of them. You can see how outstanding she is. And this is number two. Number three, we offer some people-to-people and cultural exchanges. Every year we have young and talented young ambassadors. They come here to perform, to make connectivities. I think some of the press friends, they have been invited to participate in those programs. And last but not least, education and science technology connectivity is getting more and more stronger. For the past years, we have 77 projects we co-host. And eventually we are going to set up some high-tech park, that kind of facilities in Bangalore. We have already signed the MOU with Bangalore and Karnataka government. I think this is one area we are going to concentrate. So I think that the relationship, aside from the diplomatic relations, we are doing quite well. Now back to the health organization. Of course, we need India's assistance, but we also understand sometimes our friends also have their concerns. We understand perfectly. So we will not force or we will not ask over too much for our friends. This parliamentarian support is very, very important. I think it already indicates the people's support from India. We appreciate very, very much. Thank you. Yes, please.
President, my name is Surya. I'm a journalist. You mentioned political grounds on which China is blocking your country's entry. Exactly what are these political issues that they have raised? And have you talked to India about support? What reaction have you had?
It's a long story. After 1949, when these two, one is a nationalist government, one is the communist government, they fought each other, and the national government was defeated and relocated to Taiwan. That's 1949. So ever since then, both sides are claimed they represent China. That's for a long, long time. Of course, when the time passes on, the PROC getting much stronger than ROC. Not necessarily only in the maybe militaries strength a little bit stronger. So they always believe Taiwan is part of China. Historical, if we go back to the historical many, many thousands of years, China and Taiwan is one area. Like India and the Andaman Nicobar Island. One area belongs to the one. But unfortunately, one government removed to Andaman Nicobar. Not necessarily meaning he is out of this territory, if I may. So Taiwan being relocated to ours being relocated to Taiwan, but the legitimacy and the sovereignty never been broken. So we still claim, according to our constitution, we are in one country. Okay, but different systems we have to admit. So under this kind of a situation, China using all the necessary force, trying to blockade, trying to suffocate Taiwan, trying to bring us to our knees to beg, because otherwise they are going to use all the powers in international arena to blockade you participating, number one. Number two, they are going to take away those diplomatic allies from us. Now we can only have 17 countries, I have to say, with which we have diplomatic relations. And the threat is always there. Aside from that military threat, always there. They have over thousands of missiles based in Taiwan. If necessary, I think they will not hesitate to use missiles to fight against Taiwan. That happens in the past 3 times. Taiwan Strait crisis, it happened 3 times. I have no doubt if necessary, they're probably going to use force, because Xi Jinping in this year's they have a message to Taiwan compatriot. He said China will not denounce using force against Taiwan. He said it again and again. So under this kind of a situation, Taiwan is vulnerable. I have to say, Taiwan is vulnerable, but Taiwan is very determined. We are going to side with the diplomatic camp, democratic camp, so to speak. And we still respect human rights and freedom. And for that matter, we urge all the like-minded countries, of course, India probably now is the most important country, if not in the world, in the region, definitely your largest country and the biggest democracy. If you don't stand up, who can stand up facing China? So also I appreciate for the support the Indian government for the past years and provided a lot of assistance for Taiwan assistance, including the business, education, cultural exchanges. So we know China and India, you have your own problems. So, but aside that, we are hoping that India, in the future, can show your support. I think he is already representing 1.3 billion people to show the support to Taiwan.
The second part of the question, have you approached India for help? What is the response you got?
It's always approach India from different angles. Like today is through the media, and many times through the young and talented students, and sometimes necessary we will talk with the government officials. And I think that the voice has been heard. The voice has been heard. Thank you.
Your Excellency. Yeah, I'm Sandeep Dixit with the Tribune newspaper. Does the Taiwan Assurance Act that was passed by U.S. House of Representatives help? Especially it comes on the 40th anniversary of the Taiwan Relations Act.
1979, after the broken of relations, Taiwan and the United States. From the United States Congress, they passed a domestic law called Taiwan's Relations Act, which promises, there are a couple of promises. One of them is to provide Taiwan with enough defense weapons to defend themselves. And aside from that, I think there are other six very important promises offered by the United States. They are not going to interfere the relations between Taiwan and China. I think that's very much appreciated from Taiwan for the past years. And of course now just the Congress again unanimously passed the so-called Taiwan Assurance Act, which is to provide again the sufficient defensive weapons, and we urge the Taiwan to actively being accepted to international organizations, affiliations. I think this is a very strong shot in the arm at the right time. And I think Taiwan, not only Taiwan people appreciate that, I think it's a good example for other countries maybe to follow suit. I think you may notice that Japan unprecedentedly, the foreign minister openly supported Taiwan to participate in it. It's never happened before. I think it's a very strong message to deliver to the rest of the world. Taiwan is a very trustworthy partnership in the democratic account.
Excellency, this is V.H. Jha from diplomacyindia.com. You mentioned about this.
You should give me an easy one.
You mentioned about that disease does not respect the borders or the sovereignty. True. So is the health and happiness, which is indivisible. It does not have any ideology or no sovereignty at all. Now, in that context, your continued exclusion from the international bodies' deliberations, and particularly the World Health Assembly, what kind of diplomatic efforts you are exactly undertaking to persuade countries like India to speak for you? You mentioned about the EU, France, Japan, and the United States in that context. So that is one thing. And secondly, what kind of lobbying, as the young lawyer said, that you might be doing with the Director General? And the third question to it, the right question is, what kind of activities or the effort for support from international bodies, from international civil society groups, and the health, the bigger and bigger multinational health NGOs who are very active with WHO. What kind of support you are trying to generate for yourself in that context? So these are the three things.
I think today's problem, I think we can look into two folds. Number one, I think the United Nations, particularly my personal, should be reconstructed. You see, we have almost 200 countries in that organization, but there are only 5 countries be able to have a veto power. I think it's probably too small and too little to represent the whole members state, and then easily can be dominated by a very strong power. And I think this is one area I have to address. This is my personal. I think it should be reconstructed. And a country like India, definitely, you are going to play a very, very important role in this international body, which you have not been able to be accepted. I think this is unfair. Number two, I think China has gone too far. China trying to stick their nose to every single country's business. Not even Taiwan, I should say. India also. Your issue, border issue, terrorist issue, trade imbalance issues, your nuclear supplies issues. Lately, of course, they accepted that terrorists, Massoud Azhar as a terrorist. How many years you've been fighting for that? So, if we allow the country to grow too strong and too forceful, this is our responsibility. Not only Taiwan's issue, I would say. The other day they were asking me the political recognitions in one of the Pacific countries. I said, yes, they're trying to take away from Taiwan. I said, yes, this is Taiwan's problem, but as well as this is your problem as well. Look at it. If your backyard has someone sneaking to that, will it worry you during the night? Or, of course. So nowadays, the problem cannot be only single effect. It has multiple purposes. One country's problem probably would affect some other countries. This is why I have to say, without the diplomatic relations, you see the film, we go to various countries. Most of them, we don't have diplomatic relations because we know we were a recipient before. Now we want to provide. We want to contribute. We want to feed back to community, which we think we are able to, and we are capable to do it. So with that note, I would, again, hoping through your mighty pen to show your support for the cause of human beings. Thank you.
Sir, we have the research from Asian Community News. So in the backdrop of recent visits of state heads with the two countries, especially after Oakland standoff, Modi also has been saying very high of developing relations, better relations with China. In the background of these things, and then India is talking very high on its relations with China. So are we really still hopeful? Because India is talking of better things. Second, the WHO thing is about 9 days away, and there's some procedure to apply online. So still, the date is still there. Is it lapsed or what? Are you still hopeful of getting an entry into it?
Sorry, your second question is?
The WHO event is about 9 days away now.
Yes, already passed.
Already passed. So has the date for applying has lapsed or still there?
No, it's gone. It's gone.
It's gone now.
On the 6th, it's already closed. 6th, yes, already closed.
And please, to my first question.
Modi Ji, when he was General Secretary of BJP in 1999, he visited Taiwan. So I believe he knows Taiwan more than most of the leaders in India. Our policy is, we understand you have to have relations with your neighboring countries, be it China or be it Bhutan or be it Nepal or those countries. We have no objection and we have no problems. The only thing we want to do is we are urging the government, please keep parallel relations with Taiwan and with China. This should be a two parallel lines. You're making friends not at the cost of other friends. We always believe that. So we will keep your relation with China, that you do the best for your country. In the meantime, you should think about to develop the relations with Taiwan to the win-win situation. I have to say that because a couple of days from now, we have a second Taiwan Expo coming to bring the best companies to Taiwan. That includes artificial intelligence, IoT, those machinery, smart machinery to India again, second times. And having said that, we are going to build up the first clusters in Bangalore, ICT again. So, like I said, without diplomatic relations, yes, we don't like it, but we have to live to it. Again, we do our best to promote the relations using our soft power and smart power. We want to earn, to win over the majority of Indian people.
My name is Sanjeev. I'm from Live News. So my question is, like WHA, you've been like 2009 to 16, you said you've been attending as an observer. So we just want to understand what is the status of an observer being, and are your people, your doctors, your medical professionals, are they going there individually in any capacity other than Taiwan? Means they would be all over the world. So would they be also part from that?
During that time, we go there as a delegation led by our Minister of Health and Welfare. And during that time, we observers. Of course, we probably have no right to vote per se, but we can also, to meet with people, we can contribute. We can share the same information that's shared with other countries, not the second-hand or the third-hand information. Because this disease is sometimes you need to very quickly respond to the disease. Not only for the sake of us, also for the sake of, like you mentioned, that your neighbors, national travelers. You see, we have 88 million people there visiting and transiting Taiwan every year. So to keep Taiwan in the health situation is also beneficial for the rest of the world. I think that's very important.
And so you have it approved Russia. Like, how's your ties with Russia? On the
Russia. Wow, this is a long shot.
But I understand, how do you describe how the Modi government has dealt with Taiwan? I understand the kind of dual foot between Taipei and Delhi has been far less during the Modi years than it was during the Congress.
If you do remember that, let me see now. Taiwan and India, we just finished signing a very important agreement, the bilateral investment agreement, which Taiwan is one of the first countries we signed. So I think that agreement is a very strong indicator that the relations between India and Taiwan, aside from diplomatic relations, because we understand how to improve the livelihood by increasing the investment, or particularly in ICT sectors, because we believe we are pretty good in that sectors. And combined with your software power, Indian are very strong. So that kind of combination is good for Modi's policy, making India digital, India smart city, those things, startup, something like that. I think Taiwan probably is one of the very important partners because we have no issues, both sides. We have no issues. So the only goal for us is to move forward to the betterment of the people. So I think to partner with Taiwan is a win-win situation. No worry, no baggage, no issues.